9,000,000 names of Pod.
From Atlanta,
where Dragon Con is still happening for some reason.
It's the 9 Billion Names of Pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm wearing my formal mask.
So, let's talk about some stuff.
Yes, sir. Let us.
Today's a very interesting day on several levels. First and foremost, we are recording on Monday the 25th, which is Memorial Day. So we want to say a big thank you to all to all who sacrificed for our freedoms, because that's the important thing today.
And
yes.
a big why to whoever outfitted stormtroopers with the least effective battle armor in history.
Yes,
I think you could poke it with a sharp stick and it would go right through.
Well, that's the other thing, because today is a very interestingly conflicting day for me, because it is May 25th, which is the actual 43rd anniversary of the release of Star Wars. Not May the 4th. That's a fun little game people play, but today is the actual anniversary. And for some reason, the nerds have decided that today is Towel Day if you're a Hitchhiker's Guide fan, which you guys can see I'm wearing my Hitchhiker shirt. So it's very conflicting for someone of my nerditude.
No, not conflicting, just double awesomeness.
And also, we have a guest.
We have a guest.
It's our buddy Paul McPherson is back to talk some Star Wars, because
yes,
stuff has happened in the Star Wars
has.
universe. Now, Michael, you don't watch any of the supplemental stuff, do you?
I honestly just have never been able to bring myself to open that massive time-consuming. I know there are wonderful rewards to be found by watching it, and I will probably get to it someday. But it's just too much for me to,
There is a lot to it.
Yeah. It's like starting right now going, you know what? I'm going to start from the beginning of Doctor Who and watch everything. I mean, dear God.
Eight 30-minute episodes of The Mandalorian is like, yeah, I can do that, but 7 seasons of the Clone Wars is...
Oh my God.
Many of those episodes, many of those seasons are 22 episodes each.
Yeah, 22 half hours.
Yeah. And it's not for lack of trying. I mean, you loaned me your box set, and it sat in my movie room forever until you needed it back, and I was like, okay.
Well, what was really weird and interesting that I only learned this go round, I didn't care for the Clone Wars when it was first broadcast, and I figured out why. It's because for some weird reason they aired them in a strange order that wasn't really not symmetrical, but linear. They put them out in some bizarre order that stuff jumped around, and I never understood what was going on. That was part of the problem. And Lucasfilm, or StarWars.com, put out a chronological order of which way to watch the episodes, and it made it so much better, so much easier to follow.
Yeah.
Well, I will have to tap you for that particular cheat sheet when the time comes, but as has been pointed out to me by our guest, Mr. Paul, there are just too many obscure 7-episode and then they're done British series for me to get to. 70 or 80 are being released probably this very minute, so that's all on my list.
Yep.
And Michael will find them all.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, we just got through the IT crowd, and I was like, wait, there's only 6 episodes per season? Okay, I can do that. That's easy enough.
See, that's the thing, when they, at the most of them, they'll give you 10, but that's really pushing it.
Yeah.
Usually, or if it's Sherlock, you get, like, our new episode's up, 1 episode. That's your season.
Yeah.
Suck it. Like, no, righty then.
Well, the thing about Clone Wars was that it was on Cartoon Network for, what was it, 4 seasons, Paul, or was it 5?
I didn't watch it on Cartoon Network.
Oh, okay.
I only watched it on Netflix.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I dipped in and out, and it was on Cartoon Network for a while, and I fell away from it. I was like, I just can't. I'm not digging this. And then what happened was they were halfway through. Let me think about it. I think it was season 5, like producing season 5, and they canceled it. And Cartoon Network just canceled it, and they were like, well, we're halfway through doing the season, and they were able to get picked up by Netflix. So Netflix did the last couple episodes, the last 10 episodes or whatever that last season was, and they were able to not finish it, but at least finish that season that they had started production on. And then when last year at, I guess it was D23 or one of the or Celebration, that when they announced The Mandalorian was a series, Dave Filoni just happens to come in and go, oh, by the way, we're doing season 7 of Clone Wars, so get ready for that too. And everyone was like, what? Because he was like, we're going to finish the damn thing, and we're going to put the button on what we wanted to do in the first place. Now,
I think Filoni is the new Feige for for Lucasfilm. Let's hope.
He should be. They really need to hand the keys over to him and Favreau and just let him drive it.
I think they have the keys.
Kathleen can't run the show forever. She must be in her 70s by now.
Nah, I don't think she's that old.
She looks good. She's on the new show, the behind the scenes show that they're the gallery. Of the Mandalorian behind the scenes. She was on episode 3, I believe. She looks pretty good. I don't know how she is, but she looks nice.
Yeah, and that show is actually really good too. Michael, I don't know if you've seen that, but they're another half hours, but they're just behind the scenes of the episodes. And the first one was the cast, and the second one was the directors, or the other way around. And then
every other episode is nothing but Baby Yoda.
No, they haven't even touched on him yet. It's been
By the way, Kathleen Kennedy is a spry 66.
Oh, wow.
So she's getting that. Well, she was with him from the beginning. So it's, even if she was, let's say, 18 when it started, that still puts her up, a good chunk of years. So,
yeah, 43 at least. So.
Yeah, exactly. So,
as we've learned. And yeah, we're going to spoil a couple of things for you, Michael, but hopefully not too bad. Not too bad.
Dude, there's so much going on that maybe after it happens, I'll go, didn't they talk about,
Right.
Did they tell me this?
Don't worry. This. Basically, I look at this conversation as listening to someone talk about the Silmarillion after watching, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's like, interesting, but okay.
So, where to begin? Like I said, once I started watching the chronological order, it made a lot more sense. And the last season, whatever it was, season 6 that they had finished, the last 3 episodes were some of the best that they had done.
Yes.
They had done some really interesting things. That's where
they framed Ahsoka out of the Jedi Order, basically.
Yep. Yeah, they framed.
Well,
Ahsoka.
not they, but a specific. I forget her name. Barriss.
Yeah. And but they set up a whole bunch of Yoda stuff, and they actually had Liam Neeson in an episode or 2 as Qui-Gon, using as a voice actor, which was so cool to tie that in.
Mm-hmm.
And those Yoda episodes were like him doing his training on how to become a Force ghost, basically, how to transcend death.
Now, did they get Frank Oz to do the voices again?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, it was a guy named Tom Kane who did it, and he did a very good job. Frank Oz did it I think he did it in Rebels. I think he came in and did an episode of Rebels as Yoda.
Yeah, because for the most part, he's pretty much feature film and like, I'm old, dude. I don't need to. I'm good.
They just got to catch him on the right day. He does stuff now and again, but I mean, they have to really sell it, I think, to him. Like, we need you for this for real. I think that's how they got him in Last Jedi. Like, oh, we're doing this.
I'm surprised they didn't try to get him when HBO took over Sesame Street.
He retired from the Muppets. He was very cranky about how
he's been off the Muppets for a couple decades, hasn't it? It's been a while.
It's been a minute, yeah. But
let's face it, Yoda's voice is basically just a more contemplative Grover.
Yes.
I'm Grover. I mean, it's very close.
Yes, indeed.
I feel like that's a little simplification, but yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. Come on, people. But that's fine, It's like Grover with weird dyslexia when he speaks, I am Grover. That is super.
Well, with the Clone Wars stuff, like I said, they kind of got stalled in the middle when they had left a bunch of stuff hanging, and the episodes really do make the prequels better, in my opinion. You really do
so much better.
You get to see Anakin, like, kind of his journey to become. The thing for me most of all was that you get to see the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan. And why, he was my best friend and all this stuff. We were brothers. You get to see that because they do a lot of stuff together, and it's a long enough. Like we always say, Michael, like it's a 22-hour episode of a series. You get to do so much more than you can in a 2-hour movie. So much character development.
And that's something that definitely appeals to me. And I'll be honest with you, if it had been live action, I probably would be more interested in getting to it quicker. But for some reason, I don't feel that kind of drive to get there because it's animation. Maybe that's just a prejudice on my part. And of course, they can do a lot more with a lot less budget in animation than they could with live action. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
They could do some of the most majestically brilliant things ever. And their FX budget is zero because they're animating the thing.
Same as what it is, it's just the operating budget. But yeah, it makes it so much better, and they really brought life to the clones. Like, they made you care about a ton of the clones. Like, yeah. And the clones aren't just clones. It's funny because they all take on their own, like, nicknames. So they have their, designation, TK555, whatever it is. But they all give themselves names, and they kind of break themselves out, and you get to see them become people, really, basically.
Yeah. You see their personalities and how they style their hair, their haircuts,
some of
the tattoos, tattoos on their faces,
and
all
and you're going through a rebellious stage.
An individual, the individuality of trying to be different from everyone. And I got to give it up to the voice actor D. Bradley Baker, who there were episodes he played the clones, and he was doing I guess New Zealand to Morrison accent impression. And there were episodes where he was the only actor. Like, he played all the clones, and they were pretty much different. And it's fascinating to see someone who can pull that off,
Definitely.
And so is he consistently the voice of the clones throughout? I mean, he should be.
The whole thing,
yes.
The entire run of the thing.
Because as clones, ...
Yeah, and he's actually Michael. He's Klaus from American Dad.
Oh my God!
Yep, and he's fantastic. And the whole voice acting cast that they have is phenomenal. A guy named James Arnold Taylor doing a Ewan McGregor impression, fantastic. A guy named Matt Lanter does a Hayden Christensen, but like can act, or at least he definitely brings more life to it. And Ashley Eckstein, who you saw the movie, didn't you, Michael? You saw the Clone Wars movie with us.
Yeah, right? We went and saw it in the theater.
Right.
I mean, it was okay. I liked it, but it didn't blow.
Well, it was funny because when I was talking to our friend Suhaila, I was like, if you want to deep dive watched Clone Wars, and I said, there's going to be a character in the movie who you will hate immediately, who will become your favorite character in the whole saga,
in the whole universe,
universe very quickly. Because what's funny is the whole series, I think, is her story, really. It's kind of framed around as it's Anakin's journey, but it's not. It's Ahsoka's whole. It's her journey from being a Padawan to being a Jedi to not being a Jedi to what happens afterwards. So it's phenomenal. She's basically the Harley Quinn of Star Wars. Where
does she fit in before or after Order 66?
She was,
I guess, after.
That's what.
No, before.
That's what the last 4 episodes of the season were about, actually.
Yeah. What became of her? Well, she was Anakin's Padawan, and it's like I said, the whole series is her journey of what happens to her, and a lot of fighting, and she becomes real tight with Anakin and stuff, and
because between the second and third film, she's not mentioned at all. So obviously he had a Padwan, and then she fucked off, or whatever happened. And she's never mentioned in the films ever.
The only mention or nod to any of the animated stuff in the movies was in the
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, in Rise of Skywalker, when the whole Jedi voice cameo thing, when Rey is like, be with me, they brought her in to do Ahsoka. She had a line. They brought in some of the actors who play, like Olivia Dabo, who played Ala Sakura, I want to say. Maybe not. But they brought in some of the voice actors to do some of the Jedi that you had seen in the prequels, but never had, didn't have any lines, because they brought a bunch of them in for the Clone Wars. And they also had one of the characters from Star Wars Rebels, which is also phenomenal, a fantastic series.
Kanan Jarrus.
Yes, indeed. Played by, of all people, Freddie Prinze Jr., and he's amazing. He's really good.
I respect actors that realize that, they can still try to slog it through trying to get, TV and film gigs, when there's a wonderful world of voice acting where they could just, do very well, and their ego allows them to do it.
Yeah, Mark Hamill.
I mean, personally, I think it's the best of both worlds. You're allowed to be creative. You're allowed to be part of a large project, and you can keep your anonymity. Now I know you're a big nerd for voiceover people, so you would be able to notice them walking down the street, where most people, the voice of Darth Vader or Anakin or Yoda or whoever could walk down the street, and the biggest Star Wars fan wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
You're that step above Star Wars fan.
And it's not even just Star Wars. I've stalked many a voiceover artist at Dragon Con, Rob Paulson and Phil Lamar and Eric Bauza and, all these people that people are like, who's that? And it's like, who they are. You just don't know who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So Dan, you were right. They're Ayla Secura,
right.
But there are 4 female voices there. So there's Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano.
Yep.
Then we have Adi Gallia.
Adi Gallia, yeah.
And then Luminara Unduli.
That's the one. Yeah, and it was cool because they used them in the series, in the Clone Wars series, as characters, because it's like, oh, we have more Jedi that we can use, but they never had, the actors in the movies didn't have any lines, so they needed to give them voices.
Exactly.
The last 4 episodes of this last season were unbelievable, in my opinion, from the word go, because they I was watching that it was, I guess, a 10 episode season. They broke off they changed the way it did it. Like the last 4 episodes were, and they did a lot of arcs in the series. They did a lot of multi-episode arcs. So they just broke the finale into 4 episodes. And I started the first of the 4 episodes, and it was different. And
immediately it was different. Yeah,
something came up on the screen that I never thought I would see again, and said a Lucasfilm production, and it was the original block letters, not the stylized Lucasfilm logo. And I was like, what? Wait, what's happening? And the main title started playing, the real main title, not the Star Wars Clone Wars music, the real main title. And I was completely thrown off. And they used a bunch of the John Williams music for the first time in any of the animated stuff. And from there on, it was just an unbelievable ride to the end. It was a lot of the Fall of Mandalore stuff. It was a lot of because they brought back Darth Maul in Clone Wars. He got his robot legs, and he was all kinds of crazy looking for Obi-Wan, which was cool. That was like his obsession through the whole thing was Kenobi. Did you?
Well, I mean, wouldn't you?
I mean,
but we find out that his obsession with Kenobi turns out to be that he needed to get to Anakin. Like he was trying to get to Anakin through Kenobi because he knew Anakin was Kenobi's Padwan originally.
Yes. And then he knew that he was basically replaced by Anakin is what he came down to. He realized that he had been played by Palpatine, and like he had a grudge against Kenobi, obviously, for the whole, cut him in half thing. And he, he got real bent out of shape about Palpatine. So he wanted to burn the whole thing down. That was what was cool about it, was he was like, I want to take down Palpatine and end all of it. It was crazy intense. Now, Paul, did you read the Ahsoka novel?
No, I have not read any of the books.
It's actually really good, and
I'll probably listen to the audio, but I'm not a big reader. So.
What's even cooler about that is Ashley Eckstein narrates the audiobook.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably going to do that then.
I bought it. It's worth it. And they tied in. It was close enough. They used some scenes from that in the finale that were close enough where I was like, yeah, okay. They gave me that scene, and they gave me that scene, and they gave me that scene, because the book came out, I don't know, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, something like that. But probably before they even knew that they were going to finish the series. And they did a lot of stuff. It starts off with her fighting. I was like, it starts out with her fighting Darth Maul. And they did that in the finale, in the season.
Side note, well, just continuing on to that, I mean, Ahsoka Tano is arguably the best Jedi in the series.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, at maybe not all encompassing, but lightsaber fighting. I mean, she took down Maul.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yes.
I'm guessing that her skills are a little bit better than, shall we say, Darth and Obi-Wan in A New Hope.
Just a touch.
Where
just
it's like, touch. Hey, all right, George here, bang some sticks together. Don't get too crazy. And, do that.
Faster, more intense. Yeah, she would frequently, just jump out of ships as they were crashing and run down other ships and stuff. She was, she's a wonderful, wonderful character. But
she does parkour.
Indeed, yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Righteous.
But yeah, I agree, Paul. She's pretty up there with all of them. I really enjoyed Obi-Wan in the series a lot more, and it brought more to Ewan's character for me.
Mm-hmm.
I really like James Arnold Taylor's because he is. You see him; he's a badass too. He's a way badass, and he's a smart ass too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And the whole Darth Maul thing kind of was interesting because it. He decided to take over Mandalore on his way to taking out Palpatine, and it became like
that was his plan. That was his plan. He's like, I need this diversion to cause some Jedis to come out here, and hopefully, most likely, it'll be Kenobi with his
right. And that's what he
with
even
his
says.
apprentice.
He's like, they sent the wrong one. He even says
Yep.
to Ahsoka, he's like, who are you and why are you here? I wanted Kenobi and his apprentice.
And when he tortured the clone to find out who Ahsoka was, it dawned. I was like, oh, he actually does. He's never heard of her. He's just like,
Right.
who are you?
Right.
Like, I didn't realize he didn't know who he was, whereas Ahsoka knows all about Maul.
And if you watch in Rebels, Rebels has, I think, my favorite almost anything of Star Wars. There's a 2-part episode called Twilight of the Apprentice, and it's got Ahsoka and it's got Maul and everything, and Vader, and it's unbelievable. And they know each other. You know, she's like, "Oh, Maul," you know, and so it was like, "Oh yeah, they had to meet at some point."
You know, I'm hearing this and I'm thinking a live action comedy half-hour sitcom with Darth Maul and Anoushka,
Ahsoka,
whatever,
Anoushka,
and Ahsoka doing a remake of The Odd Couple.
Yes, that would be. Oh dear.
With special guest Anoushka.
Yes. Well, there's all kinds of talk. There's all kinds of rumors going around that Ahsoka is going to be showing up on Mandalorian season 2.
Yes, I can't wait.
Rosario Dawson is supposedly playing her. I don't buy any of it quite yet because Lucasfilm has not weighed in. Like at one point someone asked her, "Is like, oh, what's a dream role?" She's like, "Oh, I'd love to play Ahsoka Tano," and I think it just snowballed into a thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of like getting Betty White to host SNL.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the fans browbeat Lauren Michael until he went, all right, and they browbeat her. She's like, all right.
Yeah. Whereas this is, I think it's like somebody just decided to say, you know, rumor has it that she's going to do it, and everyone just ran with it that it's going to actually be. And I think, to be honest, they only announced it, and again, they haven't even officially announced it, but they had alluded to it, like Hollywood Reporter had reported on it or something, and it was only like 2 months ago. And my theory is that if she appears, it's going to be a quick reveal at the end of season 2, and then they'll really, for real, do it in season 3 with her.
Kind of like the appearance of the Darksaber at the end of the first season.
Exactly. Yeah. That's another thing out of Clone Wars and Rebels.
And the 8. Yeah. Well, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. The was from. That's where that. Was that from the comics, or did that originate on Clone Wars? At least it was featured in Clone Wars.
The Darksaber, I believe it came from Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever saw it. But I do the movies, I do the animated, and then that's it. So.
Yeah, I've done some of that other stuff. Well, I had done a bunch of the EU stuff, and then Disney threw it all away. So I was like, okay, I don't know what's canon anymore or not, or what's actually happened anymore.
Well, Dan, you haven't talked about the other casting rumor.
There's a couple. They were saying that was it Boba Fett?
No.
Well, they did say that.
Well, they said that too. Yeah,
they've said Boba Fett. They said Captain Rex, and which is the other one? What are you talking about?
Katie.
Oh, that's right. Katie Sackhoff is supposed to reprise her role as Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a rumor that's going around that she's going to be Bo-Katan in Mandalorian. So that would lead to believe that.
Gee, I don't know. Can she play a badass sci-fi princess type?
Yeah. And
I don't know. Have to check her. We need to check her CV and see if she has anything on there that would let us think that.
Her voice says so.
Yeah, she's already played it in like 15 episodes, same character. So.
Oh, sidebar, Your Honor.
See
it? Speaking of Katie Sackhoff, guess what they're also rebooting?
Oh, yes. I heard they're going to try to do Battlestar Galactica again.
They're doing... Oh, this meeting has now been upgraded by the host and now includes unlimited minutes.
Well, there we go.
Well, it's lovely. Yeah, and you know who's heading the whole thing?
Who?
Sam Esmail. You know who that is?
Is that the guy who did Mr. Robot?
That's the Mr. Robot guy. And also the guy that married Emmy Rossum, so I love him and hate him. And based on what he did with Mr. Robot, I'm curious. He says it's not going to be a remake. It's not a sequel. It's just something that takes place in that universe. So we may not get, any of the quote unquote familiar characters other than, just the Cylons, perhaps. We don't know what he's going to do, but it takes place in that universe, and I am totally on board.
I don't know. I got to see what it is first. I mean, I really enjoyed Galactica. I thought it was really good, but
well, it was no Galactica 80, but what could be?
That was the Galactica 80 or the Dukes of Hazzard with the other two guys.
Oh my God,
that's what that was.
Yeah, that was. Oh God, that was atrocious.
Yes,
but yes, with the combination of the Battlestar Galactica universe and Sam Esmail heading up the team, I am enthusiastically on board. I will definitely be tuning in for that. Even though you don't tune in for anything anymore, ever, but still, I'm old and I don't even think when I was a kid there was the tuning in. That was even something that goes back even before I was born.
Yeah, we had channels at that point.
It's just like, it's this. You don't have to tune crap anymore. Although I do remember at my grandmother's house, there was a thing on the antenna where you had to move it to tune in channels.
Oh, wow.
So that was a thing. But back in my day, we had to angulate the antenna to get the thing. Anyway, okay. Which brings me to, weird technology. Hey, Star Wars universe, have you heard of Bluetooth?
Yeah.
Have you heard of, the only time I've heard of transmission of data, was being the ship by rebel spies. That was it. Everything else, it's like, here's the disc. Here's a big fucking cable from a ship I'm going to lower down into your computers. Like, really? You've got warp drive, but you can't beam a little bit of information without, okay. All right.
That scene in Rise of Skywalker where they had to hardwire R2 to somebody to get that info.
Yeah.
I was like, come on.
And then you think, of course, one, it's part of the aesthetic that's already been established in 1977 when Bluetooth wasn't a thing. And also, we need it for a plot device because the bad people are coming and it's not quite downloaded yet,
Right.
So unless you're downloading the entire consciousness of a race of people, you should have a better transfer speed than boop, 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 boop. It's getting there. That's called, in my opinion, that's kind of called, I wouldn't say lazy writing, but there's a crutch there somewhere that they're leaning on pretty damn hard.
Funny also sidebar about that scene was that the character the character that was sending them that info that was hooked up to R2 his name was Booley, and I didn't catch it the first time, and then when I found out I could hear it immediately, is that the character that was being played by Mark Hamill. They snuck him in as a voice actor to do that one character. He's like, so what do we do? Win the war. And I was like, oh yeah, there's the Joker right there.
I'll tell you, Mark Hamill's popping up in a lot of stuff. He's definitely established himself very well as a very in-demand voice actor, but he's popping up in little cameos in one or two episodes of things here and there where you're like, is that Mark? Oh my God, that's Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
he was in The Flash.
Yep. Well, The Flash was a carryover from he was the trickster in the '90s Flash television series, which was what was so cool about that was in The Flash, Barry's father was played by John Wesley Shipp, who was the original Flash in the '90s series. So they brought them both in, and they had the trickster kidnap Barry's father for some reason, just to get those two guys on screen again. It was so cool. But Hamill just popped up on What We Do in the Shadows, I heard. And
yes, he did.
And
I watched it, and it was very good. Very good.
I've seen the movie. We haven't dipped into the series yet. And he's supposed to be doing a thing in The Witcher, I think, unless that was a fan thing.
Season 2?
Maybe. Yeah.
Give a
Might be wrong about
coin
that.
to your Witcher.
Haven't watched that either. Have not watched that either.
It's
It's not bad.
uh, it's fun. I've got a
It's
lot of
different.
problems with it, but it's one of those shows where it's like, no. Just turn off your brain and enjoy. Don't get
But the
don't
problem
get
is,
smart with it.
but the problem is, you have to turn on your brain because the timeline in which it's told is it's insane.
That's what I heard.
You don't
Yeah.
realize you're watching, year 2020 right in the first scene, and then the next episode is 1962, and then in the following scene you're in 2024. Like,
Oh, I
And
didn't realize it
then
was
you're
that
back to
It's insane.
2020, but you're in a different position for the events you already know. Now you know what happened behind the scenes.
Oh, geez.
right,
In another part of the
yes.
castle.
Yes,
No, basically,
exactly.
it's the whole season is like the movie Pulp Fiction, where you get different angles on things you've already seen, and the
Ah.
tail end of it's very brilliantly done, which is probably why it's not doing as better than it should, because a lot of people go, my brain hurts, I can't pay attention, I'm not gonna, this doesn't make any sense.
It got the most momentum that I believe that it got was basically right after Game of Thrones, because people wanted that Game of Thrones fix, and it was Game of Thrones-ish.
Well, you would think all the gamers, because there's like 4 or 5 of those freaking video games. That's what it's based on. It's like a game.
Of course, the biggest giveaway was, oh my gosh, that girl, she's made to look so ugly. I want to bet that she's going to get hot later on. Oh, great, she got hot. I'm going to bet she's probably going to be naked later on. She's naked later on. It's like, okay, very predictable. Very predictable. Because they made her look ugly, but you could tell, even with what they did with prosthetics and makeup, the girl was smoking hot. It's kind of hard to, uglify that up.
Well,
Okay.
if you're talking about the women on the show, I was upset. The first hot woman you see dies in the first episode, and you don't see her again.
Oh.
Now, Paul, come on, we don't watch it for hot. Actually, I have a rule. If I start watching something and I'm not really interested, but God, there's a hot girl in it, I say, no, I'm not spending my time on a show just to watch a hot girl. If there's nothing else that recommends what I'm watching, I stop. I have to. I can't. But that's just me.
I was just tagging on to the end of your hot girl thing. I'm just saying, the first hot girl you do see, she dies in that same episode. And you don't see her again.
Well, at least we get Superman, trying to act beyond 2 dimensions. Not really doing it, but he tries.
Yeah.
I mean, Henry Cavill is a man of limited acting skills, but whereas it was not served very well in Superman, I think he matches up pretty well in Witcher, as someone who has no emotion and doesn't age. So he can travel he's been around for millennia, apparently, and he's over it. He doesn't give a shit about anything.
Well, speaking of, if we're not to segue into another thing, but did you hear, speaking of Henry Cavill, what's happening next year?
We're finally getting the Zack Snyder edit
Of Justice League.
Which part of me goes, yay?
Yeah, I get it, but it's a marketing gimmick for HBO Max is what it is, and I'm definitely interested to see what the hell it is, but it's not going to be any better, unfortunately. And I'm a huge DC fan. I wanted that movie to be good. I knew it wouldn't be, but like I always joke that you can see the tape holding the scenes together that Joss Whedon put on that film, because it's just, you can see the seams, man. You can see what big jumps and what things were set into play that got cut. I mean, it's just a poorly put together film. And it's not Joss's fault, and it's not Zack Snyder's fault. It's just it was a bad idea to begin with, and they weren't able to do it, and they had a lot of bad stuff happen. And then
sorry. The problem with it is that roughly half of the whole Justice League is introduced in the movie.
Yeah, in a 10-minute montage.
Right. So I give exactly zero shits about them.
Yeah, Cyborg is a really good, interesting character, and he deserved his own movie.
Mean, if DC didn't feel that Cyborg could hold his own film, then maybe he shouldn't be a part of Justice League. You know what I'm saying? I mean, have some faith in your people. Yeah. I think everybody in the Avengers, outside of Hawkeye and Black Widow, although now she's finally getting it, they had their own movies or were featured very heavily in other people's stories. So you got to know them. So by the time you're on the second or third Avengers film, you know what I'm saying? Am I making sense here?
Yeah, they didn't try to do the Avengers first.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's
character development and story and plot arcs and make you care.
You mean that stuff is important?
I mean,
what?
If you
here's the thing. I know there's one other one other than Cyborg, and I can't remember who it is. It's so.
Flash.
Yeah, it's the Flash.
Was it the Flash?
Yes, it was a high-end hero. And
where's the Flash movie?
I still haven't seen the CW crossover where he shows up. I want to. Yeah,
apparently in the multi-worlds or Infinite Earths or something.
Crisis on Infinite Earths. That blew my head back because I was like, they did it. Oh my God, because that was really fun and clever the way they did it, because opening scene was Earth 89. Meaning 1989, and it was Robert Wall from Batman, from the Tim Burton Batman, and he did a quick little scene, and his Earth got destroyed, and then it was Earth 66, and it was Burt Ward, and he was like, holy something or other, and his Earth got destroyed, and they were pulling Easter eggs from every which way, and they weirdly broke the thing up. It was 5 episodes, and they did 3 of them in December, and then the last 2 were in February or something. It was really stupid. But when they came back from the hiatus, they did an episode, and Barry runs into this room, and he's like, "Who are you?" And it cuts to Ezra Miller in the suit, and he's like, "Who are you?" And my mind was blown. I was like, they are never going to talk about this stuff, and they sure did. And they would do that with. When they snuck it in a couple episodes when Barry was running through time or whatever, and you saw they did all these flashes on the side, pardon the pun, of different things, and they showed Supergirl before she was in it, and then they did some stuff from the 90s Flash show, and they made all this stuff canon, quote unquote. But to actually pull somebody from the Justice League movie was unbelievable. They've been trying to make the Flashpoint movie now for 5 years. And they can't hold it together, like an Ezra Miller Flash movie. They just can't get it together. And I think they should give it up, because they have a Flash. They have Grant Gustin on the series, and he's seven seasons in or whatever. Use him. Use it. Make a movie out of that.
And he's good.
He's
already good at it.
It's the best of those series, in my opinion. And why waste it? And give us somebody. He was annoying and snotty in Justice League, and it was just a bad take on that character. And you've got an amazing take on it, and no, we're not going to do anything with that. We just throw it away.
So I don't know what you guys want to talk about, but I'm gonna bring it back to Star Wars.
Do it.
And we were talking about the voices in the Rise of Skywalker, all the Jedi voices that Rey was calling for. I
still haven't done the thing I want to do, which is watch that scene with my headphones on so I can pick them all out, because I've seen the movie I guess 3 times now, and I'm I can hear it. Oh wait, I finally caught Ahsoka the last time I watched it, but I want to go through it beat by beat.
Yeah, I just watched it again probably a week or so ago. And yeah, I definitely picked out Ahsoka, but mainly because I'm hearing Ahsoka's voice in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But I bring it up to say, do we think Ahsoka is alive or dead?
See, that's the thing. That was my thing. I hope she's alive. I hope that it's just she's in living force, and it's she's just it's meditation. I don't think it has to mean that they were all dead. What do you think?
I don't know, but I did some math, and if my math is correct, if she is alive, she's 69.
Okay.
Giggity.
That's why we keep them around, folks.
So I'm guessing something happens to her.
Is her regular?
Well, we don't know.
Voice.
They haven't like really officially ended her story. As far as we know, she's still alive in the stuff that we've seen her in. So we've never seen her end.
And that's why it's so the rumor mill is spinning, because if she's going to be in the Mandalorian, that's going to be great. We get to see Ahsoka some more.
Yes. And
and she'll be about 43 if she is in the Mandalorian.
That's right about what Rosario Dawson is. She's in her.
That's when women hit their peak. Badassery, people. Get your minds out of the gutter.
Yeah. But we also don't. Again, different races age at different rates. We don't know what Togruta age like, so she could be still in her prime. I mean, she did age in the show. That was one of my favorite things about her character, was that she got older, and she got, you saw her develop and change. Okay,
so side note, talking about Ahsoka aging, I'm not a fan so much of how she aged and what she looked like in Rebels, but on Disney Plus they have these avatars for different accounts.
Yeah.
Do you have that? Do you have just one account, or do you have multiple accounts?
I have one. Courtney has one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have R2 as mine.
I have Ahsoka as mine. I picked that back in November when it opened or launched. I swear in the last 2 months, they changed her picture to be what she looks like now in the finale, and not how she looked in Rebels, because it was how she looked in Rebels, but now I think they changed it. But I'm like, maybe I'm just super sensitive. I'm like, did they change that? I don't know. But
it would be younger. Yeah, she was, because she was much older in Rebels, And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. They added a whole bunch of avatars, from what I understand. Like, because when I started, there was like,
when? Do you know when?
Not too long ago.
I bet you they did change her then.
Yeah. I think they've updated them, and they've added a whole bunch of them.
I want to be best boy Herman Volchek from Empire. Check the credits.
But we're talking about characters.
I was gonna let him sit in that for a while.
Boy, that's like dropping a bomb in a room, and everyone's like, okay. Well done.
No, you got to be Pink Shorts guy from A New Hope, the boom operator in the pink shorts. That's who you got to be.
Do we see him in the movie?
No, there's a behind-the-scenes shot of the these aren't the droids you're looking for scene, and it's a pullback shot, and the caption was, now every time you see this shot, you will know that 5 feet away from Sir Alec Guinness, there's a guy in bright pink hot pants.
Really?
Oh yeah. The boom operator. All he was wearing was like sneakers and bright pink shorts. And
considering if you're in the desert and it's 115 degrees, Alec Guinness is probably sweating balls.
Yep.
Well,
he would love to be in pink shorts and nothing else.
I'm just thinking about my behind the scenes experience, on photo shoots and sets. Like, they do not want us wearing any other color than black or gray, because they don't want your colors to reflect on set somehow.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
exactly.
Bright pink seems like the worst color to wear.
People are cosplaying that dude. They're walking around in pink shorts with boom poles. Look it up. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So yeah, there was another rumor that popped up that that Boba Fett is gonna show up, and he's gonna be played by Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett and the clones. And I don't buy that for 1 second. I think it would be smart if they did it, but I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that's because I think my favorite part of The Mandalorian the first time, like the first season, was that they held Baby Yoda, the child, whatever, they held that secret till airing. They didn't there was no, they didn't tease it. They didn't telegraph it. They didn't show it anywhere in the marketing, in anything, until the end of that first episode. And everyone was like, what the hell is that? And now if they're dumping all these things on the table, like, oh, we're having this cameo. Oh, we're having this cameo. I don't know if they're going to, I think if they do it, it's stupid. And that's why I'm not buying most of it.
How old would Boba Fett be?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Because Tamar Morrison would be about 50 something now.
Well, it depends on how time flows inside the belly of the Sarlacc.
Yeah. And,
he flew out.
Yeah, he blew it. He got his way out.
Have we seen that anywhere? No. Did he? Probably, sure.
Yeah.
Just in the remakes.
I mean, it's not too many people that get fed into the Sarlacc pit with jets on their back. So probably the Sarlacc isn't quite equipped to nail that down.
My backpack has jets.
Okay, so
Boba the Fett.
So let's just say, I don't know, but let's just say Boba Fett is 30.
Okay.
In A New Hope. He would only be 38 in The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian takes place 8 years after A New Hope.
Yeah, well, he was a kid. He was about, 10, 11 in the Clone Wars, so...
Yeah, in the Clone Wars, yeah.
And apparently from New Zealand.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Let's just call him 10 in the Clone Wars. That's 14... That's 24 to Rebels, and then to the beginning of Rebels, and then there's 4, so that's 28 to the end of Rebels, and so 29. I was close.
Okay.
1 year off.
But yeah, I know the only.
So the guy you said is 50.
He's got to be something like that. He was Aquaman's father. I don't know if you saw the Jason Momoa Aquaman movie. He was in that too, and that was the last thing I saw him in.
Okay.
They did.
I don't remember. I did see it. I don't remember his face.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, it's Boba Fett. That was the other cool thing they did in the series, was that they had, in Clone Wars, they had Boba Fett, and he was played by Daniel Logan, who played Boba Fett in the prequels. So they got him to do the voice as well. They would get the real ones where they could. Like I said, Filoni's just he's on it. He knows what he's talking about. Did you see that in the gallery where he was basically breaking down the whole storyline and that real eloquent speech he did? Watch the director's one again, I think. And
that's the first episode.
I think it was the first episode. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that one. I saw the second one, but I was late, so I fell asleep on it. And then I woke up on the third one, and then I stopped it before I'd fall asleep again. So I need to watch the second one again. But I do remember the first. And yeah,
he just has a really eloquent summary of the prequels that it's like, oh yeah, wow, and you can tell that he loves every second of it, and he really should be the guy in charge. And like I said, I think you're right. I think him. I think Favreau,
he is.
I think
has
Favreau.
The keys. I
and
believe
him,
they have them.
Favreau can be like the face, and Filoni is the guy doing, because Favreau is a huge Star Wars guy too. I mean, he plays a couple of characters he was a Mandalorian in Clone Wars in season 2 or something. And I was like, oh, okay, there we go. The one thing that disappointed me was I was hoping, since they were doing the Siege of Mandalore in Clone Wars, that they were gonna they were going to explain the whole "I can't take my helmet off" thing. Like there's no basis for it.
Yeah, because they take their helmets off all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, it's like, we're not flying, we're not fighting. Cool.
Yeah, we have our helmets off, and I really dig that story arc in Mandalorian, but it's like, they're good enough that they do set those things in motion, and it's like, come on, give us that. Explain to me, why did we do that? Is it a Bo-Katan thing? Is it one of those other guys thing? So I was hoping. That was one of the things I was disappointed. Not that I was very disappointed in any of it, but that I was like, I would have liked to have seen that.
That's why there needs to be, an in-house, basically continuity historian, that gets out there in front and explains these things to people or helps them out. I'm sure there probably is someone perhaps close to that, maybe.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but there needs to be someone who's like the face of like, what I say goes, and here's the deal. This is this is that because of this, and Lucasfilm has spoken so that there's none of these conspiracies or questions or whatever.
We're over here speculating. I bet you they're going to address it in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
I hope so.
Like what he's speaking of in The Mandalorian is probably the way it was, the ancient way, the way, for lack of a better example, when Mandalorians were great. So he wants to make Mandalorians great again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
So he and that Coven, not Coven, the people, the underground Mandalorians, they are practicing the old way, the ancient way.
I jokingly called it Orthodox Mandalorianism.
Well, that's the thing. It's all the Mandalorians are Mandalorians, but some of them are Reformed Mandalorians, some are conservative Mandalorians, some are Orthodox Mandalorians.
And you don't even have to be from Mandalore to be a Mandalorian.
Correct.
That was the whole thing. So
correct. It has a lot of parallels with Judaism in a way.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I'm sure they'll address it a little bit more. They're but going back to what you said, Michael, Filoni is that guy. Filoni is the guy who knows everything. He's the guy who has all, he invented half of this stuff, and he's the guy who knows every bit of the trivia and the detail of it all.
Well, then I want him to get the nod and for him to take it and for them to publicize it.
Yeah.
But I think that's what the gallery is doing.
Yeah, kind of.
I think that's what that show is doing. It's showing the behind the scenes so we can see how things are being made. But the interviews, the things that Favreau is saying, the things that Filoni is saying, it's like only can be said by the people who are behind it.
Yeah. And the
and then Kathleen Kennedy is right there agreeing and giving a little insight of like, oh, well, George, what he was really thinking back, this was because of the Indiana Jones. He wasn't going to direct, but he just kept being on the sidelines, so he had to go and do some more Star Wars.
Yeah, she's the bridge between him and George, and George, he was kind of a protege of George when they wanted to do, because George wanted to do TV for a while. He wanted to do. There was supposedly that Star Wars Underground. Did you ever see that test footage of the Star Wars? What was it called? It was like Underground or something.
No.
There's like a 7-minute sizzle reel. I've got it. I'll send it to you. I think it's on YouTube. It doesn't look that great, but it was like they were going to try to do like the lower levels of Coruscant and it might have been even the Black Sun and George, supposedly there was like 100 episodes of that written and
test footage. I see it.
Yeah, and there was some and there was a whole other series that Seth Green did with Lucasfilm that is sitting on a shelf that never got, they did like 30 episodes and it's, gone. It's just, once the Disney. And
that's how we got all the Robot Chicken Star Wars, which I tell you, that works fine for me.
Yeah.
This looks amazing.
Because
he had done that. He had done
Seth MacFarlane as the Emperor is fucking everything. Stormtrooper.
How's that knee holding up?
Looks like a little pepper shaker.
Angry pepper shaker. But no, that's what happened. Like they did the Robot Chicken stuff, and then they were like, "Oh, let's do a series together." And then he sold it all to Lucasfilm, and because I've seen interviews with him, and they're like, "Oh, what's happening with Star Wars? Blah blah blah." I forget what it was called, and he was like, "I don't know. It's gone. It's just we made some, and it's gone." So.
Well, perhaps they filmed it. They did some stuff, and then they looked at it and like, this seems a lot more holiday special than not.
No.
So
no, this looks good.
Yeah,
This
no,
looks
this was
good. This doesn't look holiday special like at all.
Yeah, that's not the Seth Green one. That's the one that George was doing. That was the test footage of that one.
Well, because that's the thing I've said, that you've set a standard, a visual standard for the Star Wars universe, and if you do a television show, that's all well and good, but you need to keep that quality, and they did in The Mandalorian. It's no problem. So as long as they keep that standard of art direction, their FX budget, the things that Disney has the money for, although they're not doing too well right now since they just took on 20th Century Fox and their theme parks have shut down.
And they can't put movies out, and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you need to watch the fourth episode of the Gallery that we're talking about on Disney Plus. They talk about the tech, and the way they do the effects is almost inside out. Their stage is a 360-degree video screen, and they're using.
Yeah. Okay. So I did see that.
Yeah.
And he talked about the evolution of how that came to be about. When he did, I didn't realize he did all those things.
Right. Instead of putting the actor in front of a blue or green screen and then putting effects in later, he's standing in front of a screen, a ridiculously high resolution screen, and it's all there. The light is right because it's standing, and they're using video game engines to get the parallax, get the movement right, so that when they turn the camera, like the background changes so that the perspective is correct, and that's why it looks that way. It's unbelievable. It's science fiction. It's so.
It's
cool.
Amazing.
Well, it's a lot better than seeing those behind the scenes of the prequels where it was like, we've got one set piece and a sea of green. Now act.
Yeah, they're doing the opposite. They're like they build the bottom of the ship, and then they fill the rest out on the screen, so it's there. Like Carl Weathers was talking about the one scene when they were in the lava tunnel, basically, and he's like, there was no mistaking what that tunnel looked like. Everyone in that boat, the boat is stationary, but the background is all moving behind them, like they're moving. He's like, I saw what Gina Carano saw, what Taika Waititi saw. We all saw the same thing, so we were there. We were in it, and it made it that much better.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got? Anything?
I mean, there's so many things, but Michael hasn't seen it, so it's just like, it's the least experienced podcaster.
I am but a Padwan in the Star Wars extended universe.
You missed a syllable, Padawan.
Padawan. Wow. Anoushka doesn't like to hear you say that.
There it is.
That's the episode title.
Neither does Darth Vader, etc., etc.
Right.
I'm still waiting for that first cut, with Luke Starkiller.
Evidently, there's a take of him saying that, and when he rescues Princess Leia, Hamill put up a thing. He's like, "This is me making a mistake and saying I'm Luke Starkiller. I'm here to rescue you." And Carrie Fisher going, "What did you say?"
I can't hear very well because apparently the bra I was supposed to be wearing is now, on either side of my head, covered in hair. Just remember, guys, in space, there are no bras.
Right.
No bras.
No bras in space.
Just flimsy fabric.
Right. Except later on when there is a bra and it's made of metal. See, there's that, but, not before. Oh, George. Well, speaking of interesting, shall we say, ladies' undergarments in space, you know that Carrie Fisher, about 6 months before she passed, was talking about a Star Wars line of clothing that included like undergarments and panties and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh.
You'll never guess what. You never guess the name she came up for it.
What was that?
She was going to call it.
Medication time. Medication time.
We ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Beni Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the offices of Howard and Fine. So, on Zoom, who has the high ground? Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Track Records and is a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Listen, watch on YouTube, stream us on Spotify, listen on Soundcloud, stream us on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Paul McPherson.
I'm Michael Reed.
LOZ!
Audio Primate.